Hello everyone, welcome to UPSC Guide. And in this small demo lecture, I would be telling you something about IR, Political Science and International Relations optional subject, which I will be teaching along with Piyush sir. So Piyush will be taking the first paper one, which is political science, right? Indian politics and political theory aspects. And I will be taking paper two, which is comparative politics and international relations. This paper two has two parts. One is comparative politics and another is India and the world, right? So in one you will be studying about comparative aspects of politics, and then there will be topics like certain approaches to comparative politics. What is the nature of states when you compare between developed countries along with the developing countries? Then you will also see how there is some division between global north states in the north, which are developed countries, and also countries in south, right? At the same time, we are also going to examine nature of globalization, right? And there are certain current challenges like terrorism, human rights, environment, climate change. All these aspects are going to be taken up in comparative politics aspects. And then in the last part of your paper two is India and the world. Basically, you can say this is India's, these are the elements of India's foreign policy. So in that, we are going to examine India's relationship with different countries. You take South Asia, you take the P5 countries, then India, and the nature of India's overall architecture that anchors India's relations with the world. The bigger concept of non-alignment, is it relevant today? And then there will be certain aspects, regional aspects like India's relations with ASEAN, or even, for example, GCC countries, right? So all these aspects are going to be taken up in the international relations paper, right? And mind you, political science and IR is very, very popular among UPSC aspirants. The reason is simple. This is highly scoring, and within last 2 years, if you see the people who are appearing in mains and people who who end up clearing this exam, this ratio is around 9 to 10% in last 2 years, right? So that you can say, you can say along with subjects like sociology, political science is a very, very popular subject, and it is popular because there is certain overlap within political science of your syllabus that I'll take up in a little later. Right, so all these aspects are to be covered, and this is what we are going to discuss in this lecture, right? Just before I move on, a little about myself. I am Dr. Raj Sharma, and I have been involved in UPSC teaching now for more than 5 years. And I have almost 10 years of experience in 3 different fields. One is media. I have worked with brands like Times of India and also Press Trust of India. Press Trust of India, by the way, is India's biggest news agency, right? Then I moved on to think tank research. India's one of I would say this is India's oldest military think tank, United Service Institution of India, where I have conducted my research, right? And I have been involved in research with Ministry of Defense as well. And then lastly, I was involved in as a consultant in IGNU, Indira Gandhi National Open University, and I know that people, the aspirants who are preparing for UPSC, for them IGNU material is very, very famous, right? And I have written a number of units for IGNU and that material, because IGNU is now in the process of replacing its older syllabus, right? So political science syllabus is now being replaced, in which I have edited courses and I've contributed units as well, right? So, and those will be shared with you during the course, right? So this is, a little about myself, and my articles keep appearing at a number of, in number of newspapers. I've written in articles in the Hindu, the Financial Express, Indian Express, Business Standard, and there are a number of other websites as well. For example, ORF, Observer Research Foundation, right? Somebody who is, going to prepare for UPSC should know that what is the importance of ORF, because ORF is one of the prominent think tanks in India. Basically, it is private, which they, along with the MEA, organize this Rise in a Dialogue, right? And I've also been writing for Nikkei Asian Review Japan, a number of articles for them as well. So I have a substantial amount of experience that I can share with you in helping you to prepare for this exam, right? Now, before we move on, I will tell you, you should have some idea of what is international relations, IR, why, right? why should you study IR is the main question you should be asking, right? Now, my answer is very, very simple. IR has to be studied because India is no North Korea, right? India is a country which is well connected with the world, right? And you very well know, some of you would know this for sure, that India's outlook towards the world is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right? We say that the whole world is a family, right? So we are in a, our way of thinking, and even our actions through our foreign policy and trade policies show that India is interconnected with the world, right? We started globalization and privatization in 1991, right? And this is very, very relevant example. We stay in a times of a pandemic, corona, right? Now corona originated because of globalization, right? It spread because of globalization, right? And then later, even if you want to find the solutions, that the solutions are also there in globalization, right? Because it spread from China's Wuhan. Within 4 to 5 months, it was almost in every corner of the world. Now there are vaccines being developed in different parts of the world. They will be using different supply chains to reach another part of the world. Again, globalization, right? So the problem spread because of globalization, and then at the same time the solution also lies in globalization, right? uh, Another point, political science and IR, they are very, very connected, complementary subjects, right? Because if they end up exploring similar themes like power, politics, diplomacy, justice, human rights, terrorism, foreign policy, everything is, so whatever is being done by political science in domestic affairs, it has a connotation for foreign policy of the country, right? At the same time, IR also explores reasons for conflict between two countries, cooperation between two countries, even tensions between two countries. If at this moment India is having tensions with the Chinese, then you should know what exactly is the nature of this tension, right? And what is the likelihood in coming times, right? So this is why you should be studying IR. Now another part, the world, why the world would want to engage with India is what you should be asking again, right? Because what you will find here is that, the global order is now changing, right? During the Cold War, this world was in state of bipolar politics, right? On one hand, there was Soviet Union. On the other hand, there was this capitalist bloc led by the Americans, right? Today, what is happening? There is no Soviet Union, and the Chinese are rising very, very assertively in an aggressive manner to challenge the Americans, right? And America wants to have a close relationship with India to balance the Chinese. So global order is in a state of flux. It is changing, right? Now, in that dynamics, what is happening now is that this competition between the Americans and the Chinese, it has further, the speed has further, it has been accelerated by the corona pandemic, right? India has a number of priorities. We are moving closer to the West. The world wants to know, where does India stand, right? In this, you can also say that this is also a ideological battle between the democracies, Western democracies, and also authoritarian system like China. So in many ways, it also becomes Cold War 2.0, right? And as India rises, the world would want to know that what is going to be India's foreign policy. Will India become another China, or will India remain a status quo power, right? So this is why you should be studying IR, and this is an important part in your UPSC exam. Now, how does international relations figure in your UPSC exam pattern, right? For prelims, I don't think this is very important, because in prelims you get around not more than say 5 to 7 questions, and they are not exactly related to IR. There is some combination. For example, they might ask you something like, if something is happening in the Persian Gulf, so they will combine geography and IR. They might ask you a question, where is this certain geographical features. So it becomes a combination between IR and say geography, right? But yes, this paper is very, very important in your mains GS. IR part is because in paper 2 there are certain questions, 3 to 5 questions that are asked in GS IR portion, and it is also useful in your preparation of your essay part, right? Because in the past, in essay there have been questions that pertain to India's foreign policy, right? And of course, we will be preparing for political science and IR optional. So there, in the optional, it is very, very important. Paper 2 is all about comparative politics and IR, right? So this is what is this exam. And just to tell you a little about this syllabus, paper 2 is all about comparative politics and international relations. So in the comparative politics part, you will be studying about the theories, approaches to comparative politics. What is the nature of state? How the nature of state differs from developed countries to developing countries. Then you will also be reading globalization, the gulf between north and south in international politics, and how how these dynamics of political participation and identity, they are changing people's attitude towards politics in developing countries. And then there are immediate challenges like terrorism, gender, and then there are issues of other aspects like climate change. So all these you will be studying in comparative politics part. And then there is last part, which is the which focuses on India's relationship with different countries, right? India's relations with countries in South Asia, Indian Ocean, Indo-Pacific, right? India's relations with the P5 countries, India's relations with the ASEAN countries. All this we will be dealing with in the fourth part, right? So this is a little about your syllabus, right? And I will be taking your political science IR paper 2 along with Piyush, right? Now, after this, what we are going to do is that, there is, you would require certain skills to write this paper, right? For example, you need to have good writing skills, right? And writing skill is all part of your, mains in UPSC mains, right? There are many students that I come across who would not sit and write. But believe me, if you want to crack this exam, if you want to score good, then you should be in a habit of writing. This is the primary thing through which you are going to crack this exam. Because on the first day, when you sit and write something, there will be a lot of, your writing will be scattered, right? It would not be focused. But once you start practicing, around 15-20 days later, when you compare your two questions, the one that the answer that you wrote on first day and the answer that you write on, say, 15th or 20th day, there will be a big change in your writing. So you need to be in a habit of writing, and good writing skills are going to be needed for this paper. This is one. The nature of these classes will be as such that we are going to do through UPSC, right? Our focus is to make you, to take your mind toward research, right? We need to have a research-oriented mind to think 2 steps ahead, right? Because if you see the questions in the exam, some questions are applied. There will be a concept, for example, today this concept of Indo-Pacific is very, very important, right? But they might ask you a question beyond the Indo-Pacific part, that how India has responded to Indo-Pacific, right? Then that is the application part of the question, right? So concept, that there is something called Indo-Pacific, but how India has used this concept or how India has responded to this concept is where the application comes in, right? So that will all happen once you are in a habit of writing. You are reading a lot of material, and you try to use your brain a little ahead of the curve, right? So this is what we are going to do in these classes. And please also keep one thing in mind, that IR is dynamic. It will change very, very frequently. If there is tension today between India and China, or say India and Pakistan, tomorrow there may be a war between any two countries, right? So in that context, things will change, and you will need to update your knowledge, right? And updation is again another part, very important part of this exam, because there will be certain questions, right? For example, if India has done a surgical strike against Pakistan, then it is all applied part of again the question, right? So you need to keep updating through newspapers, through opinion articles. All this is to be taken up, and there has to be an initiative from your side as well, right? But there are certain challenges when you will be preparing for this exam. For example, the syllabus is very, very vast, right? So you will have to be a little selective. In that sense, what you need to do is first see the detailed syllabus of the exam, right? Then what you do, that you see previous year's questions, right? Which will give you a insight into the pattern of the exam, right? Which are the areas currently being covered. For example, China today is a very, very important relationship for India. The concept of Indo-Pacific is very important for India. There can be a question from India's relations with the Americans or the diaspora, right? So you will, through when you see the syllabus and when you compare the previous year's question paper, so that will give you an insight which are the important areas, right? And last thing is the sources of study, right? It is very, very important to have sources which are reliable, which are good, and which you can quote in your exam. There is a list of books, there are certain newspapers, there are certain experts that you should be, reading. All that we are going to do in these classes, right? And in the end, you should also know that as a faculty, what is our aim to teach IR to you through UPSC guide, what we aim to do, right? The first thing is we want to give you expert knowledge, arguments and rich analysis of IR, right? Whatever I teach you in these classes is not something which has just, it has not come out from a vacuum, right? I have read a number of books, 15, 20, 25 books I have read. Even I'm writing a book for Orient and Black Swan at the moment, for UPSC aspirants like to India's foreign policy, right? So I have updated myself. My knowledge keeps updating every day. I keep reading a number of articles, newspapers, in the newspapers. I keep writing myself in the newspapers, right? So that ways I keep updating myself. So I would like to give that habit and that knowledge to you as well, right? So how it is to be done, this is all we are going to do in the classes. Another point is that we will also be covering, concepts in paper 2. There are a number of important concepts which we will be discussing in the classes. The important part is that we will also teach you how to apply those concepts in the current setting, right? So this is also to be done by you. Another point is that, as a UPSC aspirant, as I was just saying some time back, that you need to think ahead of the curve, right? So you need to have analytical thinking, right? Until and unless you are able to analyze all the aspects of a concept, you would not be able to guess what type of question is coming your way, right? So this is what is to be taught to you in these classes. And of course, we will also, there will be one particular class in which we will be discussing how to write a good answer in UPSC mains, right? So this also we are going to cover through these classes. And, the last two things that are which are very, very important for, aspirants like you. In these classes through UPSC guide, our aim is to have an academic approach to study, right? In my mind, if I have seen a number of coaching institutes, right, what they generally do is that they have a very, very, set pattern of teaching. You will have one expert coming, they have their own, knowledge. Now, I am not sure everybody updates their knowledge, right? But they will come teach you and go away. That is it, right? So this is very coaching focused method. What we are going to do in these classes is academic approach to study. And what I mean by that is that we will try and at least get 2 to 3 experts from foreign policy, and we will arrange an interaction for you, right? It can be anybody, but of course somebody who is an expert of IR, right? It all depends on their availability of time, but we will make a serious effort to at least get 2 to 3 experts, for you after we are done with these classes, or maybe somewhere in the middle of these classes. And whatever we have covered, we will ask the expert, request the expert to, give you their expert knowledge. For example, if I invite tomorrow an ambassador, of course the ambassador has more practical knowledge, so they will be able to give you more knowledge through these classes. And then of course you can also ask them questions, right? So this is an academic aspect. You should be able to engage with those people who have that expert knowledge, right? So this is something different from what you see in coaching institutes, where one expert comes and shares everything, right? So this is one, that we are going to have an academic approach to study of IR. And another is my personal initiative, in which I will see, I don't know what exactly how I am going to take this idea forward, but of course it will depend on your own interest, and also how you respond to, questions that are posed in these classes. That, out of all the students that we will have, 1 or 2 of you, which I find are very responsive and they have a bent of mind towards IR, they will have a chance to write an article with me and get it published somewhere, right? So that is another thing that you can look forward to. And of course we will be arranging these interactions with the experts, right? So these are 2 things that we are going to have as a highlight of these classes, right? So in the end, my advice to you is that please, if you are interested in political science and IR as an optional, it has a lot of advantages for you. It is a subject which covers a lot of aspects of your GS paper, your essay paper, right? It overlaps with your polity syllabus also. So it is a paper which may be lengthy, but if you are able to, you hold on to it, then it will give you rich dividends, right? So this is all what I have for you in this demo lecture. And if you are watching, this video either through YouTube or even Instagram, then you need to see the description where the details will be uploaded by the UPSC team, right? And apart from this, the date of the launching of the batch will be also announced on UPSC guide website. And lastly, in case you want to get connected with me before taking up this political science IR classes, then you will have to fill a Google form, and the UPSC guide team will get in touch with me, and we can have a one-on-one direct session, right? So then good luck to everyone, and see you soon. Thank you.